On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 2015. We're going to be taking a look at Chris Stapleton and Justin Timberlake, and they're going to be performing Tennessee Whiskey and Drink You Away. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So this is quite a long one tonight. It's just over 8 minutes in length, so I'll probably jump into it a couple of times, maybe more than that, to point out a few things. You're going to have to buckle yourselves in for this one because it's one hell of a performance. And as always, there's going to be a link in the description below, so you can click on that link if you want to watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it. But let's get the guys up on screen and see how they get on.
First, Chris Stapleton, and it's Justin Timberlake.
Used to spend my nights out in a bar room. Liquor was the only love I'd known. But you rescued me from reaching for the bottom and brought me back, being too far gone. Tennessee whiskey. You're as sweet strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy. Honey, I stay stoned on your love all the time. I look for love in all the same old places. Found the bottom of the bottle's always dry. But when you put out your heart, I didn't waste it. 'Cause there's nothing like your love to get me high. Tennessee whiskey.
I'm just going to jump in here. This is so difficult to jump into because it's just top level playing across the board throughout the whole band. And it's a dynamic masterclass. We just had this dramatic breakdown, but the peaks and troughs throughout the performance are just throughout. You're always being taken on that journey, not only musically, but dynamically. And just talking about the journey musically, we've only got 2 chords here. We're going from an A to a B minor. So considering the amount of entertainment, the amount of ability being shown through the whole band, it reminds me of a comment actually recently that I had on the channel where I was looking at a song and somebody said, oh, this song is only 3 chords. What can you possibly analyze about it? Well, this is 2 chords, and you could spend years breaking down the things that are going on in this performance. The thing that really does stick out about this performance is that it's obviously very well rehearsed, but having said that, we are talking maybe 85% rehearsal here, and then 15% of artistic expression and just a little bit of magic that musicians can put into a performance. And that was highlighted by the fact that in this last chorus, Chris went to sing, but he could see that Justin was about to sing the vocal, so he quickly took a step back and reacted very quickly. But that just really does signify the fact that it isn't fully rehearsed, it's about 85% rehearsed, which means that when you're watching a performance, sometimes there is an element of something you can't put your finger on when top musicians are just playing together with artistic license, and that's exactly what we've got here. If you were to try and demonstrate that point, you could give session musicians all of this written down musically, and they could play through it and they could rehearse that, and that's all they did. That would be a 100% rehearsal with no room for extemporization, and they'd play through it and everyone would say, oh, that was great. And it would be, if you get session guys, top players, to play something and to read it, then it would sound great. But you get to that level of having something that sounds great, but then something that is just on a different level, and you think, wow, that was amazing, that was in a different league, and it's just that extra 15% of musical expression and free license. When you give it to top musicians, as we've got here, you get these performances that are standalone performances because there's the personality of the musicians in there. It isn't just notes on a piece of paper. I'm also going to quickly mention the mix because it is so good. When you're listening to this through reference speakers as I am, you can just hear that stereo field so clearly, and you can hear voices just kicking off all over the place because the whole band are totally into this performance and they're enjoying it so much because of the level of quality, especially from the people at the front of the stage, as I've already mentioned, with the harmonizing vocal-wise, but the way that Chris leans into his vocal, and there is a particular line that he hits where it's a descending run, and you can hear the reaction from the audience, but also the members of the band, and somebody says sing it off to the right in the stereo field, and I think Justin says sing it as well. They're totally into it. But when you're listening to that little rundown, and I'm going to just quickly get to that part of the video if I can. I think it was around 1 minute 27, something like that. But let me take it back. We'll have a listen to it so you guys know what I'm referring to.
You're as warm as a glass of brandy.
And there you have it. And you can hear the sing it going off in the background, because a lot of people will just listen to that and think, wow, what a great vocal line, what great expression, just Chris's tone, the way that it sounds like it's almost smoked on a fire because it's got rasp, almost like a gravel sound to it. It is so thick tone-wise, and you can listen to that little vocal run, and it's great. And the stylization that he throws in there with the run is so well put together. Pitch-wise, he's hitting these notes perfectly on the way down. But then you can ask, but why is it so good? And if you've learned to sing yourselves, then you will know that the reason that little run he does is so good is because of his vocal cord connection while he's doing it. If you have learned to sing yourself, you will know that going through the process of putting together, first of all, notes in tune, that's the first difficult part, but then putting together notes in sequence that are in tune and then placed closer together, so that if you're going hoo, 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 all of those notes are achievable when you start doing it in a light configuration. It's easy to do that, or at least it's easier. It will take a lot of work to be able to place the notes quickly and try and hit the pitches bang on. The reason that this is so impressive is that Chris is not going hoo, 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 and hitting it in a really light head voice configuration. He is belting in chest. He's got that rasp in there, which means the vocal cords are fully connected, and the more you lean into your vocals, the less flexible, the less agile they are. So when you're listening to a vocalist belt this out in chest voice and really lean into the sound and be agile at the same time, that's why it's so impressive. And that is why there will be vocalists in the band here. And Justin, who's a vocalist himself, who just goes wow at the sound of that run, because they know how difficult that is to pull off with such a closed vocal cord configuration. And it's something that you get in heavier genres of music, classic rock, hard rock, where these guys can lean into their sound but still have agility. I've just got the piano up on screen quickly so we can have a look at the range being covered here from Justin and Chris. You guys will recognize this from the live analysis videos that I do on Wednesday, but we are spending most of the time at the top end of the male tenor range, and we've got some crazy notes going on here. We've got a C5 being thrown in, and the D5, and the D flat 5. Hopefully you can see my arrow on screen. I'm just pointing those out. But we are at the top end of the male tenor range, and the top end of the baritone range as well. And interestingly, when we have harmony vocals going on, generally what will happen is you'll have the voices hitting different ranges, and the top end of the ranges here, we've got the baritone and the tenor range, and that's where Justin will be hitting the notes slightly higher, and we'll be having Chris slightly lower, but they do alternate. And let me mention that Morgan is going to be singing slightly higher. That's Chris's wife on that third harmony vocal at the front of the stage. But just to point out as well that we've got the same notes going on here from Chris and Justin, and a lot of people might think, well, if they're just hitting the same notes in the same range, maybe it's not going to work. Or why does this work? Because it clearly does. And a lot of it is to do with the fact that Justin has a lot lighter vocal sound. His is more of a clean head voice sound, whereas Chris belts and he has that heavy, raspy chest voice tone. And when Justin goes up high, he's hitting his notes up around C5, the male tenor high C, as I have written it in there. He's hitting these notes in the lighter head voice sound, almost like a falsetto, a reinforced falsetto, whereas Chris, when he goes up there, he's still belting it. So it means that you get effectively two totally different tones, so therefore two totally different expressions and personalities. It is the difference between playing a lead guitar solo with a very clean tone and then playing a solo with an overdriven tone, lots of distortion, and having that more aggressive sound to it. So you can play the same notes on a guitar, but those two solos will sound totally different just because of the tone that is on the guitar sound and on the strings that you're playing at that time. I've just got the guitar out quickly to show you the subtlety in Chris's playing in the verse. When Justin's about to start singing, we have the classic call and response between Justin and then the voice of Chris's guitar. And he's just rolled off a bit of his volume on the guitar just to take a bit of that distortion out of the equation, because dynamically things have now been pulled down for the verse. You really want Justin's voice at the front of that mix and all the attention to be on there, but we still have that classic call and response from Justin's voice to the voice of Chris's guitar. We'll have a listen, and I'm just going to pause it after each phrase that Chris is playing so we can really appreciate the subtlety of his playing.
I look for love in all the same old places.
That first little line that we have, again, the volume taken off, but that, like that, really subtle line, and maybe just so you guys can hear it, it's sounding very subtle when I'm playing it, but a little bit louder for you guys. Hopefully you could hear that, and then as we proceed.
Found the bottom of the bottle's always dry.
And again, really subtle. We've just got this little slide up like that. But this is the great thing about this performance as a whole. Every musician isn't overplaying. And that is so important, to leave the spaces in there, because this is the kind of thing, just two chords, it'd be so easy to have your A, and start throwing in fills all over the place because there is so much space, but the space is there for a reason, to focus your ear on what you want it to be focused on. And here, there's a vocal going on. So you don't want something kicking off in the background constantly. You want to be able to focus on that vocal, and then when a response is needed musically, that's when it comes in. But let's keep on listening.
But when you put out your heart, I didn't waste it. 'Cause there's nothing.
I love that little fill because it's got a hint of throwaway about it as well. And it's that A feel that we have, and it's that kind of thing, but the throwaway part of it is when we come down, and then you can't really hear it because it's so softly played. But rest assured, there would be a tiny bit of vibrato on there. That's something that Chris does and has down, just the ability to express through his guitar, through his vibrato. He just has total control of it. But hopefully it gives you a little bit of an appreciation of the way that Chris is not just going and playing without any dynamic respect to the composition and where they are in this place performance-wise, in terms of very early on in a verse. You need somewhere to go dynamically, and he's just really laying the foundation for the rest of the song. We are going to be jumping back into the video, and I think this is roughly where we left. I have been jumping around a bit in the analysis, but it is one of those videos that you could analyze for years. Let's get back into it and watch a little bit more.
Tennessee whiskey. You're as sweet strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy. Honey, I stay stoned on your love all the time. Tennessee whiskey. Oh, Tennessee whiskey. Nashville, how you feeling tonight? Can I put a little Memphis up in here? Yeah. Here we go. Baby, sweet thing, could this be a dream? Or just the same nightmare that keeps me awake? In my brain. Sing it. Some shot of pain. Hey. Pour a little light now for the love that we made. And I feel it in the morning. Ooh, you're still here in the morning. I see you, but you're gone. Telephone a doctor, I'm not okay. The bottom of the bottom. Hey. To feel this empty harder. 1,000 proof, don't change the truth. I got it, but I can't drink you away. I've tried Jack, I've tried Jim, I've tried all the memories. I can't drink you away. On these rocks I can't swim out of this skin. I'll live in the tell me, baby, don't they make a medicine for heartbreak? I can't drink you. I can't drink you away. I can't drink you. I can't drink you away. I can't drink you. I can't drink you away. Ooh, I can't drink you.
And there we have it. Just drink that in, because where do you start with that? First of all, just looking into the audience is a great way to judge it. If you don't play an instrument yourself, if you're not a musician, look at the musicians in the audience, because you've got Keith Urban there, who is making that face that every musician makes when you're watching a band that are super tight, that are so solid, so in the pocket, that the groove is undeniable and you can really physically feel it. The amount of groove and subtlety, expression that is in the performance. And the whole band here are just singing from the same hymn sheet. And talking about singing from the same hymn sheet, this is almost multiple genres blended into one. You could argue that this has a gospel sound to it. It's got soul. It is country. It's got rock elements in there. You could call it pop rock as well. You've got the more pop-orientated vocal of Justin in there, but then you've got almost a hard rock vocal from Chris. And this is the great thing about music, is that when you're just watching a great band, you're watching great artists just come together with different influences, especially here with Justin and Chris, you get such a unique sound that doesn't have a genre. It's just art. You just listen to it and you just digest it for what it is. And then after the fact, people then sit behind a desk and say, right, what are we going to describe this as? We're going to describe this as country rock or pop rock or whatever it is. And it's not a genre. When people perform, they never think about what they're doing before they do it and say, right, hang on guys, we're sounding a little bit too much like that other genre. We need to bring it back to more country. It's just top musicians doing what they do and having that freedom of expression. It does go back to what I said at the beginning of the video. You really do get the impression that every musician on stage here has the freedom to express themselves. It must have been insane to have heard this live with all of the instruments on stage. We've got the keys, the horn section, we've got the backing vocalists as well as top three vocalists at the front of the stage. We've got Chris's ability on guitar with his lead work also in the background. You could hear a little bit of that lead going off, and we have this when we're going to be in E minor effectively. And I mean, when I'm just talking about this, little things pop into my mind about the performance, the way that with a vocal run that Justin does, he points it out as he does it. Let me try and find this actually. It was at about 6 minutes. That might be exactly it. Let me have a look here. And then we get a little smile there from Keith, because Justin is using his voice as a lead instrument, extemporizing, again, having that freedom musically in order just to throw in something really interesting. And the fact that I had this E minor key that we are in, and really, you could say, you could play an E5, but having the E major, the reason I say minor is because for the most part, you could also hear the guitar in the background throwing in some bluesy lines there. It's going to be in this minor pentatonic. And the reason that this is so interesting, the line that Justin throws in there, is because he throws in a little bit of major scale. So generally playing like this, like that, means that I'm in that minor pentatonic shape, and all of the bends, you can throw that all in there, but Justin throws in that little line. I'm going to rewind it so that you can hear the notes that he's actually hitting, and hopefully we can get to the right place again. So it's that. So he's going from the minor scale into that major scale, into the blues scale, and ending. It's something that he's pointing out because he knows he's going somewhere different. Those kind of notes are something that as a lead guitarist you'll start to throw in there, even if you're in that minor key and you're playing in that minor pentatonic shape 1, having that. You'll go and throw in that little major note that you might want to have that. So that's what Justin's doing vocally, and this is what the best singers do. They're using their voice as a lead instrument, just extemporizing, taking you on a different journey, and that certainly was there, but it worked so well. I love the fact as well that Justin has picked up a guitar and he's just strumming the chords on that, just filling in the sound even more, but having the ability to do that in the first place is something that a lot of singers don't necessarily have automatically. It takes a lot of work to get down even rhythm work on the guitar, playing bar chords, because you could see in the beginning he was playing as A and also jumping up to his B minor shape. So he's got that ability, he's worked on his playing, which is good to see. But I don't want this video to go on for too long. It probably already has. There is so much that you can point out about this performance that I would be here for years, because this is just the bare bones of pointing out what the band are doing, what Chris is doing, what Justin is doing vocally, what they're all doing vocally. And the amount of genres that we span in this one performance is crazy. But thank you guys so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!